Hi folks, thanks for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to click that subscribe button. I would really appreciate your support. So in the vise, what you see is a fairly heavy jig back fly, and I'm going to show you how to tie it. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak H480 barbless hook. This is the Jig Champion. It's at size 12 and it's a medium wire hook. And the Java body I'm going to be using is 3.7 millimeters, and as you can see, it's just plain tungsten. So first thing I'm going to do is put some super glue onto the shank of the hook, because the thread I'm going to be using is the Veevus GSP. It's at a 30 denier. So if I can find my super glue, there we are. A little touch onto the shank, and this just keeps the thread nice and stable onto the shank. A lot of people say you should use wax, and wax is great with most things, but Veevus just doesn't like it. So I always use the super glue. Remove the waste, and I'm going to add my tail. Now what I'm using for the tail is from Troutline. It's Coq de Leon, and it's the Rihon version, or however you would like to pronounce that. Some of my Spanish friends will surely pick me up on that. So I've already got the feather out the packet, and I'm going to select between 4 and 5 strands of feather, and I've just pulled that off the stalk, and I want it to protrude roughly a centimetre past the bend of the hook. So I'll get a couple of turns on there and just tie that in. Now if you have a mind to, you can put a loop of thread around just to splay out your feathers. Then I'm going to come all the way back up and just disregard that bit at the front. Now the Java bead, what I like to do with my Java beads is put them onto the hook and just see how they're going to sit. Now I like mine to sit just in line with the eye, which ensures they'll ride upside down. So before I tie that into place, again, a little bit of super glue. This fly is more about model building really than fly tying, but it's important that you get all these steps in place if you want to have a robust fly. So again, catch that on. I'm going to dress it up with my thumb, using my thumbnail to push the Java bead back. Then I can get just a couple of loose turns in place. And then just give that super glue a chance to catch in. So for the body, I'm using some of the Troutline. It's fine stretch 4 millimeters. This is the hot orange, but I'm actually going to use the brown. I prefer the brown. It's a much more subtle colour, but I've just lost the packet. So what I'm going to do with this is take out a corner. I don't know how much of that I got on camera, but I'll show you. So I've just got a little slither here, and I want to catch that in on these grooves, like so. Now, any of you that have used the Java backs before, there's 3 grooves where your thread sits, and it's really handy. And I've stopped my thread just on the rearmost bit. And what I want to do, again, I'm going to come in with a super glue, and I want to just get super glue all over that Java body. And once I've got that into place, I can then bring my thread all the way down to the bottom, and I'm now off the weight, and then I'm going to bring it all the way back. Now if you attempt to do this without putting the super glue onto the Java bead, what tends to happen is your thread will slip everywhere and your material will slip everywhere. So always use some super glue, or another way of fixing it. I've found super glue is the best. Next then, what I want to do is start wrapping my body up the weight. So getting the first turn's the hardest part. Now, I'm not putting an awful lot of pressure on this. I want to try and create a very small segmented look to the fly. So I'm just getting turns over and over, and as I'm coming up, each segment's getting slightly bigger until I've come up all the way to the top. Now, a lot of people just finish their tying here, but what I like to do, and why I put some super glue on the front, is I like to come right around the whole thing. And the reason I do that is when I use coloured pens on these, the pen takes the colour much better than just the Java bead. So what I'm going to do is that first groove, I'm going to capture that in 2 or 3 turns, and then with my whip finish tool, I'm going to cast my Veevus thread off, and you can see I've got that white band round the fly at this point, which I'm not worried about because there's quite a bit of work to go. So I'm just going to loosen my vise up, and I'm going to just remove the material like so. So I can see I've missed a little bit on your side when I've been wrapping there. I'm not going to lose too much sleep about that. Then I can put that material to the side. Next then, I'm going to come in with a Promarker. This is a black one, or a Sharpie, whichever suits you really. But where my thread finished is going to be the head of my fly. And I'm just working. Sorry if the fly goes out of focus while I'm doing this bit, but it can't be helped. It's more important that I see what I'm doing. And as I said, I can see that because I've got the fine stretch over the head, it's just finding that colour a little bit better. And as I go, I'm just catching my Veevus with a black. So far so good. Bring my vise back to normality, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use some Solarez over the black, and what this does is seals the black, so any other colours I want to add won't be corrupted. Now, what prompted me to show you this fly in particular was I was on Facebook a few weeks back, and Craig McDonald posted a few of his favourite patterns, and it caught my eye. I have had this in my box for a long time, but I just when I seen Craig's version, it just prompted me to think, oh, I must do a video on that, because it is a super effective way of getting deep fast. And not only is the Java body quite heavy, the profile is all important, so there's nothing holding this up. When it hits the water, it's finding the depths really quickly. So that's the first little bit there. And then what I'm going to do, you can do lots of things with the body. I like to just add a little bit of red to the top. Now, that might seem strange, but it doesn't come out red once you get some UV varnish on it. It comes out in that mottled colour that you've seen in the picture or you've seen at the start of the video. Like so. And then again, I can come in with my Solarez and give the fly a coat over. I'm just going to turn my vise again. Now remember, the fly will ride upside down predominantly, and then I can cure that off if I hold my torch the right way around. It looks like so many different underwater creatures, and I think that's why it's so successful. It gets to depth quickly and looks like lots of different kinds of food item. Now, the picture I saw that Craig used, he used an orange hotspot, which is good. The orange works well, orange red, but for this I like to use a green hotspot, and I'm just going to invert my vise. So what I'm using is some of Troutline's neon green, and simply open up the lid. You need a dubbing needle or a cocktail stick, and then I just take a little tiny little blob of that, maybe a little bit more, and add just in behind the eye of the hook. Just a spot. Make sure you've got a duster handy to wipe off the excess, because you don't want to put your resin down on your wife's dining table. She will have a hissy fit. Then cure that off. And of course, in theory, that's the fly good to go. But what I always do with the coloured resins is give them another coat of UV, and that ensures that it's protected when it starts bouncing over them stones. So there we go. Super fast. Tie-in is negligible. It's mostly colouring in and super glue, which, you know, it takes me back to my Airfix model days, so I don't mind it. But on the river, if the water's high or you're fishing a fast run and you need to get to the bottom, this will do you a trip. And there we go. I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please think about clicking the button, and I'll see you all next time.